Well, the title of my talk today, which is given, is Role of Technology in Shaping the Criminal Law. As we all know, the technology is transformative in all aspects. Technology is transforming each aspect of our life. It is reshaping the system, it is reshaping the processes, it is reshaping the culture, it is reshaping the even human conduct and human expectations. And we live in the era, just because of the technology, we live in the era of the instant momentum, instant reward. We order today on Swiggy, Instamart, Zepto, Blinkit. We need everything instant. We believe that this is something which has become a greater amount of our rights. And this is how we are looking at the criminal justice delivery system as well. Because as we all know, our justice delivery system has been grappling with number of issues. And one of the greater issues that what we have been facing for years together is about delayed justice, is about the pendency of the cases, is because of not having an access to justice to lot many people. According to the World Justice Project report, which has been published just before 2 years, it says that there are 5.2 billion people in this world who have an unmet justice needs. Now, the question that comes around is that justice is something which is being considered as the most sacrosanct. It is something which is the most desired value for having an essence in life for any human being. So justice is being considered as the most cherished idea, and if there is a sense of injustice which prevails for any human being, there is no worth dignified living. And in that context, when we have so much of unmet justice needs, it is significant to discuss that how technology come to rescue to handle these kind of issues. And at that time, when we talk about technology, as we all know, we all are using technology in number of ways. And technology is something without which we cannot imagine our life today. And in that context, we have now tried to theorize technology. What are the various philosophical underpinnings? What are the different theatrics of the technology? That is also we have started reviewing, we have started analyzing. And in that context, what is the relationship of a technology with a human being? And how a human being is interacting with the technology, and how the technology is impacting in various aspects, in economical, social, cultural, all the aspects. That is what we are reviewing now today. And when we are reviewing, one of the major concerns that is being shared by many scholars is all about the ethical consideration, that how technology is promoting more ethical values, or how it is undermining the issues of privacy, is undermining some of the ethical integrity. There are some kind of concern that is raised by the researcher. But frankly speaking, individually, what I strongly believe, that technology is a great equalizer. Technology does not discriminate. Technology does not look at if you have a cell phone in your hand and if it is an internet. The phone does not discriminate. What is your gender, what is your race, what is your caste, creed, place of birth, religion, all these things. Technology is very neutral when it comes to the usage of technology. Technology is very neutral when it comes to the distribution of the fruits of the technology. So in that context, I believe that technology is a great equalizer. It does not discriminate. And when we talk about today, that everything we look at, every technology has led to, creating a very different kind of a world, what we call as a digital world, what we call as a virtual world. And today, almost everything, look at this thing, this talk, this lesson, teaching, learning process, meetings. We have seen in number of occasions, at least in Gujarat, I have seen, there are marriages that happen on Zoom. There are engagement ceremonies that are happening on Zoom. There are, almost, we are creating a parallel virtual world where we reimagine all our human conduct, all our human processes in the virtual world. And there are people who find that virtual world conduct is very safe in terms of so many inhibitions people may feel when they are in crowd. So that way what I am believing is that the technology is creating a parallel digital virtual world, and when in this world there is also a notion of justice which exists, and this is how what we call as a digital justice portal or a digital code or a virtual codes, that the entire concept of virtual codes is also get conceptualized. And as some of you may already be aware that for the first time this digital code is being established in China, in Yangon in the year 2016, and then subsequently there are so many such kind of an experimentation has been done in China and in Hong Kong, and now literally we have through the usage of technology, as some of you may be already aware and might have seen, we have a kind of kiosk wherein you just have to share your story, what you really want to do, what is your problem, what is the family matter, it is it's a violation of contract, or it is some kind of an offense which you lodge a complaint. Whatever you want to do, you just have to narrate the story, and then after capturing the story, there will be a kiosk wherein you have to just operate the way in which you put an order on the on your McDonald's store or any other store through the virtual screen. You have to select your name, your party, some of the things that you fill up, and then the entire plane would be ready. You will get, there will be the way in which you have your boarding pass at the aerodrome. The same way the entire petition would come out, and you can read, you can sign, and you can further upload. So this is the way in which not only this, but then once the petition is getting admitted, the petition is being scheduled for the hearing, everything that happens quite virtually. And this is the kind of a world we are reimagining entire justice delivery system as well. Now, when it comes to the issue of the criminal law, as you all know, criminal law is something which is so important, because when we are trying to execute and implement criminal law, the basic human rights, the basic constitutional rights, the right to live, liberty, freedom, ultimately imposing criminal law would ultimately lead to restriction on these rights, and that also includes right to life, because the death penalty does exist in India. So, and when it comes to the right to life, or a right to restriction on right to life, or restriction on the liberty, suppose you are being sent to a prison for 6 months, even for 2 months, even for 1 month, your liberty is getting restricted, and this is an irreversible process. Those 1 month, 2 months, 6 months of your life is not going to get back in your life, and that's the reason that the execution of criminal law becomes very significant, and we have to be very cautious and careful about the way in which the criminal law is being drafted, the way in which the procedure is being enumerated in different laws, and the way in which it is being executed. And that is how we all have learned in Maneka Gandhi's case that not only about any other law, but even the criminal law, when we are drafting, it should be just, fair and reasonable, and the processes under which the various provision of law is getting implemented, the processes also should be just, fair and reasonable. And when we talk about the justness, when we talk about reasonableness, when we talk about fairness, and when we talk about fairness, is all about absence of any kind of an arbitrariness. And when we talk about the absence of any kind of an arbitrariness, what is one very important factor that comes into play is the technology, because once the technology is deployed, as I said earlier, they do not discriminate, and there is an absence of arbitrariness, and that is how I'm a great promoter of usage of technology with very cautious understanding of what are the possible and probable misuse tactics. So we have to be very careful, but then usage of technology will definitely will further promote the absence of arbitrariness and more reasonableness and more fairness than what I would strongly believe. And That's the reason that what I believe that the advanced technology that what we have been now deploying in crime detection, crime investigation, identifying the evidences, reducing the evidences, these technology have greatly transformed the entire criminal justice processes. But of course, it has brought new possibilities along with posing a lot of challenges. So we have to constantly work upon these challenges and harness the possibilities which we have with the help of this technology. So these technologies is working is a double-edged weapon, as we all know. The technology can be used by the perpetrators, by the criminals to commit more sophisticated crime, and the same technology can also be used by the investigators to investigate upon the crime and to identify the accused. So it is I would say it's a double-edged weapon. It is useful to both the parties, and that is how again I'm telling you it is great equalizer. It does not look at who are you and what is your intention. So this is now there is a philosophical questions that where we need to ask that what do we really want to do with the technology. So there are certain and technological, the philosophical inquiry as the use of technology is not novel. Right from the Greek period, for the first time when we such kind of usage in the form of a very minor inventions which was being discussed in Greek. Right from that day, we have been constantly questioning the idea of technology and impact of technology on humans and human interactions. And there are two major philosophers which I would like to discuss over here, because generally when we talk about law and technology, we don't talk about the theorizing technology or the philosophy of technology. And in that context, I would like to point out two major contributors who have contributed immensely on the theories of technology, and that is Martin Heidegger and Andrew Finberg. Now, these two, the two philosophers have posed different kind of questions. That the first is that whether the technology is inherently neutral. That's the first question, and whether it carries any values and biases. And in that context, we have so much of discussions with reference to artificial intelligence when we talked about the algorithmic biases, when we talk about the person who is designing the algorithm. What if that person is a bias which has ultimately carried out in the artificial intelligence process as well. So in that context, the question comes that whether the technology is inherently neutral, whether it carries any value framework, whether it has some biases. And in that context, the same kind of a question that was raised to me before 1 week when I was speaking at Commonwealth Legal Education Conference in Mumbai last week. And then we had a similar kind of a question that what if, how do we save ourselves with this kind of algorithmic biases? And at that context, I had responded, which I would like to share over here, that there is a book called How Do Judges Judge the Case? How do judges judge? So in that book, there are mentioned that there are 77 kind of an implicit biases that all judges carry. We all are a human being. We all have implicit biases or about one or the other thing. We may have an explicit biases, but implicit biases is very, very natural. And all these 77 kind of implicit biases we carry as a human being. So as a human being, even if I'm a teacher, if I'm a police officer, if I am a judge, I'm a lawyer, I carry those biases, and no matter how hard I may try, but these biases always reflect the way in which I carry myself, the way in which my conduct portrays, the way in which I decide, the way in which I talk, the way in which I interact. So these biases are the reflection of a human personality that what we carry, and these biases are generated over years. Some of the biases we carry through genes, some of the biases that is a byproduct of our upbringing, our cultural, social, economical context. And in that context, I was telling that at least if there is an algorithmic biases, there will be a consistency of the application of those biases. We as a human being, when we have a biases, our biases applications may become an inconsistent point of view, meaning that while who is there before me, because I may have some affinity with the person of color, creed, religion, or whatever. So my point of contention over here is that though there may be some kind of a technological biases based upon the bias that have been generated through the human being who has invented this thing, but still there will be consistency in approach. There will be a fairness at least in terms of in terms of the following the same pattern. We as a human being at times may not be able to do so, and this is how technology is more superior in terms of the fairness than human being. That's what my personal view. The second question that the philosopher tries to understand is that that is what we all have been dwelling upon, is that what are the potential risks and benefits that emerges out of the technology, and then how do we strike a balance? That's what we call it, is the benefits versus the potential challenges, and how do we weigh this thing? And there are two sets of people. We always believe that those who are what we call is the technophobia and technophilia. Technophilia believes that there is an inherent positive impact of technology on a human being, and technophobia, the other sets of people, believe that the technology is inherently negative. It creates all kind of bad vibes, and it creates all kinds of issues, and we should not we should not further promote the usage of technology. So these are some of the perennial problems and the questions that we keep answering this thing, but then the usage of technology will not stop. The other thing is that when we have the possible potentials, the potential challenges of the technology, how do we design? How do we realign our design process of technology in such a way so that it becomes more responsible? So there is a first generation of the AI when we talk about the usage of AI. The second generation, wherein we have seen what are the possible impact of the AI on different sectors, and then what are the potential challenges. And the second generation, we are trying to realign the processes and designing of AI in such a way that it becomes more accountable, more responsible, and more value neutral. And that process is still going on as per my understanding. And then the most important questions, that is something which has nothing to do with the criminal law, but I really would like to pose these questions to ourselves over here, and that is, how does technology shape our understanding about ourselves and our relationship with the world and our place in the world? And that is how, in the context of this thing, is that how do I define myself in the technological world, and how do I define my place in the technological world? Because we have seen so many such kind of a cartoon and so much of such kind of a stories, wherein the family before 3 decades they had a single telephone. Now everyone has a mobile phone. Everyone is now we don't interact much. We don't have much of the conversations, and there are predictions, which is the very, very scary predictions. But there are predictions that 10-20 years down the line, the human will be losing the art of conversation. We would be losing the art of conversation because we will be so sound in typing the messages. I mean, we will be so sound in only texting. So texting is going to be the foremost form of conversations, not the human-to-human conversations. And what we have already seen with these generation, especially Gen Z, wherein don't talk much, but then they are more, their feelings are always reflected on the Instagram stories, even their hatred, their love, their sorrow, their peace, everything is through virtual world, through Facebook, through Instagram, and there are different ways. They don't interact much, but then they depict their emotions virtually through different platforms. So this is very important, that how my relationship is getting defined in a technological world. So having said all these things, coming back to the criminal law, as I said, there are in the criminal law also, there are countries who have been believing in the form of technophobia. They said no, technology is going to be a great surveillance, technology is going to be a great intruder in the privacy of a human affairs, and we should not further promote the technology in the governance. That we have seen the kind of an initiative the government of India for the last 2-3 decades have been taking in the form of e-governance, and all the even the corporate governance, the kind of an e-platform and the ERP that is being designed for all the compliances. So when it comes to India, I believe that in so many sectors, when it comes to the usage of technology, India is far ahead of many of the even developed countries, especially when it comes to the digital payment, when it comes to the virtual payment mode, India is quite ahead of most of the countries. So in that context, the question for us that is very vital is to ask ourselves, what is the technological appropriateness? The concept that is arisen now is technological appropriateness. How do we define the degree of appropriateness in a particular sector for any country with reference to weighing the possible challenges and the possible benefits out of it? So this is something which is very important, and it always differs from culture to culture and the context of for which sector we would like to use the technology. Now in that context, when we talk about the criminal law and the criminal justice dispensation system, as we all know, there are different kind of a technology that we all have been using for quite a long time when it comes to the criminal law. You remember those good old days where we had the pager, we had what we call is the kind of a technology which is being used in criminal justice system is so varied. So now there is a separate category which we call as a criminal justice technology, and this technology has a variety of sectors. The first and the foremost that comes is the surveillance and monitoring technology which we use in the criminal justice processes, which is a part of the criminal justice technology. Now the surveillance and monitoring technology that is being largely used by the policing across the world, that includes that this basically involves the close observations of the individual or a group of individuals with an intention to gather some substantial piece of evidence, some substantial piece of information that supports their investigation. And these technology have, I've seen that these technology have rapidly advanced over a period of years. That includes the facial recognition, the automatic licensing plate, and the CCTV camera, that what we have found across all the places now. As a part of the smart city project also, this CCTV camera is being there in all the major cities at all nook and corner, and now we are creating a common control and command system wherein the data from all the CCTV camera would come at one place, and there will be constant monitoring, and there will be not only this, but now we have such an advanced software for the CCTV surveillance, wherein suppose there are thousands of cars that might have passed on MG Road in Bangalore. So now, if I want to check that because I need to narrow down my search, I cannot go for viewing the entire cars as a part of my investigation. I can narrow down my search by if it is a white color, with having this number plate, having this model. So these kind of further tools that we can use as a part of further enhanced our search from the CCTV footage and CCTV surveillance. Not only this, but we also have a rapid identification system that we have been using that is also part of your fingerprint. Now we know that nowadays your cell phone, your iPad, there are so many things wherein you use your log as your fingerprint. Now these Aadhaar, There are so many technology wherein your fingerprint is being used. Now the question comes that the fingerprint data is being stored somewhere, and with the help of the automated fingerprint identification system, what we call is an AFIS, your individuality, your locations, everything can be traced very easily. So this is also the part of the surveillance mechanism of the other thing which is being largely used by so many police, especially I have come to know that in Karnataka and in Mumbai, in Maharashtra, the predictive policing module which is being used is quite successful. And this predicting policing module, basically what they are using is that they are gathering so many data from the CCTV, from the fingerprint, and then from the gathering of the data from different sources, they are using different kind of an algorithm to forecast the criminal activity, to forecast a particular behavior of an individual who have some kind of a proven track record in a particular activity. And then, so this predictive policing technology, predictive policing is also greatly supported by the different kind of a technology. Apart from that, we have seen nowadays, especially after having the new criminal law and when we have made it mandatory to have a search and seizure, you have to have a video audio capturing mechanism, and in that context, the body-worn camera is something which is already used by other developed countries like US, Russia, Germany. But in India also we have now started using the body-worn camera, which will give a valuable insights to both the police officers as well as the offender they behave, and at the same point in time, it also helps us to ensure that the police officer does not misbehave with the suspect. So to ensure the preservations and the fundamental rights of the accused person, also the body-worn camera, which has a direct the capturing of that images can directly stored at the server which is being located at one particular office. So there will be constant interactions of these images and constant monitoring, which really help us. Apart from that, now what we have seen today is about the rapid DNA testing and analysis. Gone are those days wherein you have to extract the DNA from your blood, saliva, semen, urine, or from your hair, all these things you may need. But now the rapid touch DNA technology is something which is amazing, which is transformative. Even you have touched some space, from the trace of your skin also. Now we have the technology available, which we call as a trace DNA technology, that is going to be a game changer. And then this DNA database, now with the help of this technology on an entire population, if we use this technology and create a DNA database, and that is going to be a great revolutionary step for any country, because the moment you have, especially when it comes to India, we are the highest populated country in the world, and if we have this DNA database available in India, in that case, we would be the highest data available, and that is going to be a game changer when it comes to when it comes to the identification of the culprit, identification of the accused, who are involved in different kind of offences. So that is in this respect also the biometric and facial recognition software. Now you'll be surprised to know that from the trace DNA also, from the trace DNA, from the DNA, you can reconstruct your entire physiological structure. These kind of a technology is also available. I only need your DNA structure, and once I identify your DNA structure, I can create the entire physiological structure of a human being, and this has a 95% accuracy. So this is going to be another game changer when it comes to the crime investigation. Apart from that, now when it comes to the investigation of crime, the reconstruction of the crime scene has become very, very significant in order to understand the entire processes. And then now we have all augmented and virtual reality based crime reconstruction tools, which will really help us to reimagine to imagine that how a particular crime has occurred, and what are the different steps and processes that is really involved, and that gives a greater amount of clue to the investigating officers. And when it comes to the digital evidence, this is something which is changing our life, to be very honest, because I've seen everyone today on this mobile or a laptop or a computer. So we all use different kind of digital devices. And one thing is very clear. I have always considered the digital devices like your soul. We have that saying in Gita, Nenam Chidanti Sastrani. So, the kind of the sloka says that the Atma, your soul is such, it cannot be buried, it cannot be destroyed, it cannot be, you cannot make it burn. You cannot destroy it. It is immortal. Likewise, dear friends, this digital footprint is your next soul. You cannot destroy it, no matter what you believe. You have a factory reset, you have done everything, whatever the settings that you have to do, you have changed your SIM, you have done factory resetting, again setting, you erase all the data. Whatever we do, this digital footprint is your soul. It cannot be destroyed. Yeah, you will be always be traced back. We have all kind of software tools, technology which is available, through which you can always recover the data. So the data retrieval mechanism, the data retrieval software, the tools, and the data recovery system is entirely, for some it may be scary, is entirely a game changer for some of the sectors, because as I said, even with a SIM card or a phone, you burnt it, you put it in the water for hours together, for 6 months together. I'm saying this thing with the utmost confidence because at the National Forensic Sciences University, all our faculty members are now considered as a government scientific expert under section 329 of BNSS, and earlier it was under 293 of CRPC. And we, as a university, we receive so many such kind of live cases for examination. And on the basis of the examination, the CD, which was there under the water for 6 months, a CD which was carrying the footage of some murder, and these people must have thrown it in a river, and then after 6 months from the river, the CD was being brought back, and then we could recover the data. My point over here is that the mobile was completely burned. The scene was also like almost burned. From the burned mobile also we could recover the data. So the point I'm making over here is that in these age of advanced technology, when we talk about privacy, my personal concern is that, my personal belief is that in few years to come, 10 years, 15 years down the line, privacy is going to be myth. If we are using this technology, if we are using the email, if we are using the internet, if we say that, I want to have my privacy, no matter DPDP or GDPR, whatever we talk about, the kind of a technology that is coming into foray is making the privacy is a myth concept. So we are going to have, like, the open society, the open source we talk about, we are going to have an open book. Our life is going to be an open book. So this is a brief about technology. I don't know how much time I have. I just would like to take last 5 minutes about, just let me know how much time I have left. So the few minutes I would like to dwell upon about the initiative that the government has been taking with reference to the using the science and technology for the reshaping the criminal law. And in that context, some of you may be already aware about the crime tracking network system, what we call the CCTNS, CCTNS 1.0 and now CCTNS 2.0, wherein each information of a crime is getting captured. Each information, the CCTNS has almost 45 data sets which is getting captured, which is getting analyzed which is getting shared amongst all the states, among different police stations. The kind of huge amount of data pertaining to the crime pattern is getting collected, and then the pattern is getting analyzed. So CCTNS 2.0 is a great initiative. The other thing is that ICTS, which we call as an interoperable criminal justice system. As we all know, when it comes to the criminal justice system, there are different pillars of criminal justice system. We have prosecutors, we have judicial officers, we have investigating officers, we have forensic scientists. There are multiple stakeholders, and under the pillars of these stakeholders, the entire criminal justice system is resting. Now, these all pillars have to have a proper coordination. But what we have experienced that these all pillars work in their own silos, and there is not a greater amount of coordination and collaboration with all the pillars when it comes to the sharing of data or sharing their problems, sharing their issues, finding out the solutions. They don't interact much. And to bridge these issues, we have an entire platform, what we call as an interoperable criminal justice system, wherein the data of the police station to IO to forensic scientists, the data is available to the prosecutors, the data is available to judicial officers, and data is also available, some of the aspects which also is available to prison officers. So there is a network which has been created, wherein the seamless sharing of data, which help us to reduce the time for the processing of this data, for processing of this file, and which is going to be going to yield a very good result. Apart from that, some of you may already heard about the Nyaya Shruti initiative, wherein we have now the digital platform through video conferencing. You can argue in any of the court of law. You can have the live streaming of the proceedings, and e-Shruti and e-summons. Now we have the e-summons technology. Now even the forensic scientists or the expert witness should not go to the court of law. Now the video conferencing facilities is getting available at all the levels, at police thana also, at the forensic science laboratory also, so that the time that you are investing for traveling, and then once you travel, I've seen most of the cases. What happens is that the forensic scientists, they must have reported some cases, and he was being summoned for the cross-examination or for giving the expert testimony, and he goes to the court, from one place to other place. He takes almost so many hours, and then he waits for his turn, and then when his turn comes, it appears that the case is not going to be heard. So his entire day has got lost, and that is ultimately impacting on the pendency of the cases to be examined in the FSL. So there is so much of time that is getting wasted. So the point which I'm making over here is that there are different initiatives of e-summons, e-Shruti, Nyaya Shruti, e-forensics. And with these, what we are doing ultimately is making the life easy, making the data accessible to everyone, and we are shortening the time to process all these procedures. This is something which is going to be a great boon. And when it comes to the new criminal law, what we have seen that in all the aspects, when you are making the forensic prop mandatory, or when you are ensuring the video audio recording should be there at the time of the crime scene, or when you are ensuring that there should be a mobile forensic van should reach to the crime scene at the earliest, or when you are ensuring that the forensic science professionals should accompany the investigating officers, because at times the investigating officers do not know how to collect the piece of evidence, how to package it, how to preserve it, how to dispatch it, and which specimen is to be collected. All this understanding, the investigating officers may not have a scientific background and may not have a greater idea. And in that context, we have made a provision to ensure that the forensic scientists should accompany at the scene of crime. There are separate cadre, and the Karnataka was the first state, which is a great admirable step, wherein they have created a separate SOFA officer, the scene of crime officers cadre, which is being created, who are especially trained on the crime investigation and crime scene management. So these are some of the initiatives which is really helping. And one of the other initiatives what I have seen is that is with reference to ensuring that if you look at in BNSS, we have seen that there is a deadline given in so many processes that in 7 days the report is to be there in 10 days, in 15 days. Now these timeline ensuring that it becomes mandatory or compulsory for you to change your human processes to be adopting the technology so that the time gap can be minimized. So not only this, but you have seen in this the search and seizure also. जो audio video आपको capture करना है, you have to capture the audio and video, and immediately the capturing the footage is to be sent to the server. It's live. It is the footage is being streamed live to the server room through the blockchain technology, so that there is no such kind of issues of manipulation of those capturing of the video or audio. Also, when it comes to the collection of data and the collection of piece of specimen, using of geotagging technology, so that really minimizes the change of the specimen, which is at times is always being alleged with reference to the functioning of the forensic science laboratory. Not only this, but having understood the importance of science and technology, now we have around 145 forensic science laboratories in the country. Now the government of the day is thinking to enhance this number by building the new FSLs, by creating more NFSUs, by promoting forensic science education to ensure that there are more forensic science graduates should come out and should join this forensic science laboratory. Because as I said, when it comes to the conviction rate, or when it comes to conviction rate, we have 57% of conviction rate in compared to the other developed countries. If you try to compare with China, Japan, Germany, US, with whom we are competing economically, when we are the 5th largest economy of the world, and we want to travel to 3rd and the number 1 position by 2047, we need to somehow arrange our home. We have to ensure that our law and order situation is greatly enhanced, because it has its impact on ease of doing business index, it has its impact on the justice index, the rule of law index. So all are quite interwoven, and in that context, it is imperative for our country to ensure that our justice delivery system is timely, our justice delivery system is accurate, and we have a greater amount of I won't say the conviction rate, but then I would say that people get feared that there is some law and order situation is there, so lesser amount of crime rate. That is what we are hoping for, and that is what once we have a lesser amount of crime rate, we may have a higher rule of law index in this country. And in that context, the new criminal law is very promising. That's what I believe. They may have some kind of loopholes which we try to encounter when we try to execute it, but then over a period of time we will be able to tackle those challenges also when it comes to the implementation of this law. This is just not even 1 year. 1st July 2024 to this is what today in April, it's hardly 9 months that have been passed, and it will be too early for us to predict about the efficacy of the laws. But then what I could say that the intention with which some of the provisions are being formulated, harnessing the right science and technology, is very promising, and is definitely going to reshape the order of the criminal justice delivery process. So with this, I end over here. I might have taken a lot of time, so my apology for that. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.